I won't look like him, I tell you. All right. What am I bit? Thank you, Bob. We were very pleased to get the invitation to Gabor when she spoke to her fifth husband. She said, "I won't keep you long." Carnival has been fun for Ferne and I. We've been in it now. We started in '69. We became active in '74, '73 when we went to the first ICGA convention. At that time we were introduced to the HOACGA HOACGA club, I should say, and we were told that we should join because of the red picture that was coming out, and I think all of you remember that. And I think I can safely say we haven't missed a convention since that time, and have really enjoyed the association that we've had. Every beginner has to start out, and a lot of my talk will be for you beginning collectors that are here. Our first auction, we were able to purchase what could be the inverted strawberry, which it isn't, bowl. Now, we thought that we really bought something when we were able to make a purchase of this bowl. So this is our first purchase at an auction for $7.50. So if any of you that are just starting out, if you can start better than this, you are much better at Carnival than we were at that time. Then we started to hit the antique shops because we were pros after having made our first purchase. And we went to a lady's shop, or I did this on business hours because I was the dealer. I could make calls when and where I wanted to. And she had this mug that she had just purchased at a garage sale for $5. And so she sold it to us for $7.50 because she made a 50% profit. And of course, we did not know that it was a red one because we didn't know what Red Carnival was. It was pretty, had a good thick base on it, and so we purchased it. But this is the point to you beginning collectors. Don't pass up anything that's iridized because you don't know 10 years, 15 years from now that it might be worth a lot more than what you realize. But this is a red orange tree mug that is very dear to our hearts. Then we went to another antique shop, and the man was showing us Carnival, and we were a little hesitant to buy. And finally he went to his back room and he said, "You wouldn't want to buy this because it's for advanced collectors." Well, that really ticked me off because little did he know. So we made the purchase. It's been in our collection since 1970, and it hasn't really meant that much until Don Moore came out with his colored article in the ICGA Pump and said that there was only one known 8-ruffled Dugan cherries bowl. So I called him and I said, "Don, how did you get a picture of our bowl?" Well, there are now 2 of them. And he was as happy as I was that we had one too. So this is the 8-ruffled, the only second one known in the Dugan cherry pattern. I brought this along because at the last talk that we gave, it's the small raspberry compo. And I brought it along just to share because we had never seen one before. And at the talk, John Britton recognized that it was one of very few that he had seen. So I brought it back for you people to look at because maybe you might not get a chance to see another one. This is a small raspberry. And then in the talk, we discovered that there's an N on the bottom of it. So now it's worth more because it's a Northwood straw, small raspberry. So it's worth more. The little whiskey sampler means a lot to us because it has Cazenovia, Wisconsin. Now, Kendall, Wisconsin is 468 people, and we take the population at Christmas time when all the kids are home, and so we have a good number. Well, Cazenovia, Wisconsin is smaller than Kendall. But the secret to this little whiskey sampler is it was for Ryan Dern's great-grandfather. Now, Ryan Dern was a baseball pitcher for the New York Yankees that you probably remember. In fact, his first pitch went behind the batter, and then he struck him out with the next three because he was scared, didn't know where the next three were going to come from. Right? Yes.
My sister lives in Cazenovia, Wisconsin.
We have a lady here, Carol, that sister lives in Cazenovia, Wisconsin. Somebody knows where Cazenovia, Wisconsin is. That's as great as knowing where Kendall, Wisconsin is. Thank you, Carol. Ryan went on drugs and alcohol, and it took him out of his profession. So he came to Kendall to speak to our school kids, and I called and had him come down to the garage, and I showed him this. And he was deeply moved that I recognized him, and of course recognized that his grandfather had given this out. And so then he checked it out for me, and his grandfather owned a sawmill, and at Christmas time, they would give whiskey samples out to their customers. So that's what these actually were used for. And they got Durr Brothers, but it should be Dern Brothers.
That makes it more better.
Right, makes it better. Speaking of whiskey, when we spoke out at the Northwest Club, unfortunately I got mixed up with Gordy and Ken, and those two elves have to have a little drink or a little toddy for the body or whatever you want to call it. So we went into this bar, and the three of us were sitting there, and Ken ordered a shot, 2 shots, and 2 drops of water for he and Gordy, and I just took a Mountain Dew. So it wasn't long, the fellas downed the drink, and there was a young bartender that was waiting on us. You probably remember that, Ken. And so then they got their 2 drinks done, and he said to Ken, "Do you want another one?" And Ken said, "Sure." So he gave him 2 shots of whiskey and 2 drops of water. Well, finally, it kind of worked on him a little bit. Why would anybody have a drink such as that, like Ken and Gordy were having? So Ken finally said, "Well, young man," he said, "us senior citizens can hold our whiskey, but we can't hold our water." Don't get involved with those people in the Northwest Club, I'll tell you. This is the Hopstar and Fruit pattern in blue opal. It's supposed to be one of the 2 known in this color. Now maybe someone else has one, and what I'm quoting is just what I know, but it's the blue opal and the Hopstar and Fruit. You probably noticed that Ferne and I have taken up chewing tobacco, like the ladies did back in the good old days. So we like cuspidors. Now this is a very simple pattern, but you do not see it. It's the ruffled rib pattern. Now, we all remember that the ladies pinched snuff, and of course carried these underneath their cloaks when they went to visit their neighbor lady so they could share and have their own cuspidor. So this was made by the worker after the owner had gone. So there aren't very many of them. That's why they're called whimsies. But today, one of your members pointed out that it also could be for those ladies that couldn't spit very far. She could use it like this. So I hadn't thought about that. Millersburg and green is, of course, hard to come by. So we were very pleased that we were able to get the hobnail cuspidor in green. I don't think the imperial people chewed or had much tobacco around because imperial didn't make a lot of cuspidors. We did see the windmill pattern made into a cuspidor at the ICGA convention last year, but we have this imperial grape in green and in marigold, and I haven't seen any others, but so we're kind of proud to have these. But it's interesting that different companies didn't do more in that line with the cuspidor, but probably because the worker couldn't do it only after hours. We do not know. I brought this along so that you could see, especially the beginners, how the idea of cuspidor got started, or what they did to make it out of. And the grape and cable, which is very rare, was made out of the powder jar. So if you could value this the same as the powder jar because they're the same pieces of glass, wouldn't that be great? But unfortunately, this one is worth more. We do not know of another one in the wreath of roses in the cuspidor that was made out of the rose bowl. We were very happy to be able to buy and purchase this one. I want you, of course, to come up and take a look at them, but we feel that this is the only one that's been known or that's come forth at this time, made out of the rose bowl, wreath of roses. Cosmos and Cain. Some say it isn't a cuspidor because it's flared up a little bit on the little ways on the top. I say it's a cuspidor because we own it. Rose bowl people can call it a rose bowl if you want to, but the Schroeders call it a cuspidor. In the Millersburg line, this is the only one known made out of the small. It's the smallest known in this pattern, in the blackberry wreath. There's another one in Wisconsin, made out of marigold, but it's made out of a larger piece of glass. But this is the only one known in the smaller one. I don't know how many of you have ever seen the fluted scroll. Dugan supposedly made this, and it's the only one that has ever been iridized. So it does come in other glass, but this is the only pattern and the only piece known that has ever been iridized in this fluted scroll pattern. We call this a cuspidor again because we own it. Some call it a rose bowl, but it's a cuspidor. Don't let anybody tell you different. This is one of our pride and joys because we do like the kittens pattern. This came to us on a postcard or on a picture in the lady's hand. The man that owned it sent it to us that way. We've never been able to buy a kitten's cuspidor before, and I'll tell you, if you really want to get a thrill or have your heart do a couple of flips, have somebody offer this to you. So we brought it for you to share. It's one of our prized possessions in the kittens field. There are only about three or four of these that are known in marigold, and probably one or two in blue. And if anyone has a blue one that they would like to sell to go with our marigold one, we have a brochure on Kindle that will show you and tell you how to get to our house. We bought this at Ed Gaida's auction. It's the highest known vase in the kittens. Most of them, well, you saw them sold today, that are at that height, but this is the furthest pulled out. It's hard to see the kittens in, but we know that it is, so we're pretty proud to have that. I brought the plate along because it has 2 kittens on it, and most of them have 4 kittens. question has come up, is a 2 kitten worth more than a 4 kitten? Well, if you're counting kittens, 4 is worth more than 2. But I do not believe, I think you don't see as many 2 kittens as you do with a 4 kitten. But as far as, it must have been another mold, and it hasn't really been, Carl Booker ran an article to get more information on it, why and so on. But nothing has come forth on the reason for it. But I brought it along just to show you that there are 2 kittens as well as 4. We brought this from the Ed Guide auction also. And I brought it along. Part of my talk I like to say Carnival glass, why? Why don't we have more cruets in the Carnival? We have the buzzsaw cruet, but that isn't really a true cruet. To me, this is a true cruet as far as the looks, shape, size, and so on. Now, this is flash iridization on it. We got this at the Guide auction also, and I've never seen any since that time. Probably some of you have one. But very interesting. We like interesting pieces. They don't have to be expensive, but they can be fun pieces. And this is one of them here. This is another fun piece, a little mustard jar, also in Carnival. We've been told in the estate pattern that the little perfumes are very scarce, like less than a half a dozen of them. So we brought this along to share with you. It's the little estate pattern. If you go to an antique shop and see this piece of Carnival, you probably wouldn't buy it because it doesn't look like very much. But when you put the matches on top, it makes sense, and it also tells you what it was used for. I noticed, I believe in the last HOACGA bulletin, that someone has one of these for sale for $900. So all of a sudden, we think this is a fine piece of Carnival right here. Another Carnival glass, why? Why don't we have more pickle casters? I'm sure back in those days that they made pickles just like we do today. It's the only one that we have seen, and actually the pickle jar inside here is a covered sugar without the cover. But why don't we see more of this? I do not know. The next one we're proud to own, thanks to Tom Ordini, was a butterfly water pitcher that came off the line, and the foreman or the man in charge went back to Mr. Fenton and said, that looks too plain. We cannot sell that pitcher that way. So back to the mold maker they went, and they put the fern with the butterfly. And that's why today you have the butterfly and fern rather than a plain butterfly water set. Again, we like interesting little pieces, novelty pieces. The ripple, this would look like me standing up to Frank Fenton with that one that was sold today in green, John. This is supposed to be one of the smaller ones in the ripple pattern. Maybe somebody else has one, but we thought it was cute and interesting. Also in the miniature blackberry, in a flattened out, it's like a little plate, and a white one. Many of you have this, but we brought it along just to share for those that probably have never had a chance to see one. There is a story with the strawberries. I went to an antique shop many years ago and came back and told my secretary that in our neighboring town was a strawberry two-handled bonbon that had a strawberry on the bottom. And for Christmas, the employees gave this to Ferne and I. So it does have a meaning, but you don't find them very often with the strawberry on the bottom. Again, it's a little unusual. And I brought along a red one so that you can compare it. Red is red, and it's beautiful, of course, but just for you to look at. We call this a child's cake plate. You might want to call it something else, but it's ours, so that's what it is. It's the stipple question mark in white, and it does make sense. So it's a child's cake plate. We like to talk about this one because it should rest on the feet. Instead, it rests on the collar. So I feel that when that worker should have blown, he went this way, sucked the feet right up. Time magazine came through, and in their collectibles, A to Z, needed a piece of Australian Carnival. And Dr. Jack Adams was doing the article, and he borrowed this from us. So I thought if any of you wanted to feel a piece that's nationally known, world known, and you want to feel it in your hands, you have the privilege to hold this little kookaburra. And I think the reason that they chose it was because of the trademark number on the bowl. But we have the book. It's Time Magazine's Collectibles, A to Z. Another one of those goodies that Don Moore put in his color article, that there was only one butterfly and berry plate made out of the master berry bowl. And again, we had to make contact with Mr. Moore to see how he was able to get our picture of the one that we had. And we do have a lot of fun over that, and I think Carnival Glass is to have fun. We talked to Mr. Fenton yesterday and asked him, we know which come first, the hen or the egg, but we asked him which came first, the bowl or a plate. And he said, every time a bowl is made first, and then they make the plate. The only plate that he knows that is a plate mold is the Newark plate. I thought that was very interesting. So the bowl is made first, and then the plate. So same here, except they only made two of these. The bowl was first, the master berry bowl, and then the plate. Went to a lady that had a collection, and we purchased many pieces from her, and she said she had a blue basket, and I said that's fine, we would take that in Fenton. So when we got there, this is the blue basket, weave basket, and she's correct, and so we bought it for the price of a blue weave basket. Now, I don't think I was dishonest, because at one time that's what this was. So that's what we ended up with here. I brought this along because how many of you have a crimped edge holly bowl? As common as the holly pattern is, and as common as the crimped edge bowl is, there's one here. We were told by a holly expert that there were only two of these. He had one, and we have one. So now we know that another one, an amethyst. Yes, and that's what this is. So go home and look at your collection and see if you have a crimped edge holly bowl.
Oh, no, I didn't sell it then.
Good girl. Palm Beach, whimsy, vase, pulled up at the top. weren't able to buy this until another one came out for sale, and then they priced it to us. And I think a lot of you have experienced that people don't like to price things until one comes out, and then they'll price it, and then they'll sell it to you. At John Britt's auction, we bought the small coin dot rose bowl. Bob Strimming probably has several, but it's the only one that we have. He has one, he said. Small one, as plain as the coin dot is, coin spot. These are a little hard to come by in the small size. I have to show you the beauty of this. Probably you can see it. We were with Don Moore when he bought this, and he bought it for $450, and I kept bugging him about it because he said he had another one, but they looked very nice on each end of his dresser. So I went along with that, except it bugged me that he had two and I had none. So finally, he came back to me and he said, "Carl," he said, I'm going to sell you one of my blue Memphis and the fruit bowl. Now you remember fruit bowls set over the base, punch bowls set inside the base, okay? So I paid him $950 for this, by the way, and I thought that was terrible, that he doubled his money. So I went back to him and I requested that he sell it to me for $400 and take me as a loss. Somehow with Don Moore that doesn't go over too well. So then he had his auction and he said if I wanted the other one he was going to put it up at his auction. So I put in a bid for $950, no sweat. I would have two of them. About a week and a half after the auction, I received a card from Don that said, "Now that you have made the down payment, how do you plan to handle the balance?" And it took another week to find out that this second one bought $2,300. So in order to keep peace in the family, the third of every month when Ferne and I get our Social Security check, we send him a $50 payment out of this kind of money. So we have a lot of fun over what I owe him yet. I brought this little sauce along because it's interesting and intriguing that the Memphis sauce has the same square base as the fruit bowl. Wouldn't this make a cute miniature punch set? Carnival glass, why? Why don't we have such a thing? Maybe the worker didn't think of it, maybe it isn't practical, but wouldn't that be a little cutie? It's got the right base for it. Well, we were up to Don Moore's at the Northwest Convention. Don had this for sale. This is a vintage fernery. All of you have a vintage fernery, I'm sure. As it came out in the auction today, they'll bring $35 to $65. I'd never seen a tight crimped edge fernery, so we brought this along to share with you. Don had never seen another one, so we were very pleased that he would sell it to us. Also, while we were there, we purchased this amethyst 474 punch cup, or purple. And the reason I brought it is Don knew of two punch sets, one the Bullards owned, and when the earthquake went through, it was damaged and smashed. And then when he fell off his ladder, then his was damaged and smashed. So he said that this is the only known cup at this time, and probably somebody else has one in this color, in this pattern. But I brought it along to share with you.
Mr. Strom has a set.
Pardon me?
Mr. Strom has a set.
Okay, Mr. Strom has a set. Very good. I'll see you after. We've been told that this is the only complete gift pattern. Cathedral, Hopstar, okay. Barber bottle. In Marigold, Dr. Adams, who is very good on Cambridge, told us that we have the only one, so we brought it along. This is a very simple little item. I brought it along because it was grandmother's hair receiver. And with this made out of silver, they were able to work with it and put it over the cover. You cannot take this off. Very hard to do, but I can remember when grandmother would comb her long gray hair and then she would save the hair and put it in the hair receiver. Audrey McGann doesn't have that problem, but some of us will maybe someday. We like to leave the last, but not least. When we were able to purchase this, probably Cooley remembers the day, it was probably one of the biggest thrills that we had in Carnival glass. It was bought and then returned because it has a jiggy poo up on the top. It doesn't bother us a bit, and it looks very nice. But if anybody wants to come up and check out a frolicking bear, a water pitcher, we're happy to share it with you. I think the idea of collecting Carnival glass has been very good for Ferne and I. And of course, since I've been an officer in ICGA, it means more. I think the friends and the people that you meet are the greatest type of people. I always like to say that Carnival glass brings us together, but it's the friends that keep us together. Thank you very much.
Sounds like I did a good job with that. Thank you very much, Carl and Ferne, for sharing your glass and explaining the different aspects of some of the glass. And I'm sure that to all of us collectors, whether we are new or one of those advanced collectors that gets to buy those Duke and Cherries type bowls, we do appreciate your bringing the glass and sharing with us. We know that it is a task to do that, but it is also one of those things, as you said, it's the friendship that keeps us together and sharing the glass that makes all the friendship. We will take just a 5-minute break for whatever we need to break for. And we have the whimsies that we're going to be auctioning off. I wanted to say that I guess we have in the past, we've kind of decided when we were going to make souvenirs, we kind of left someone from the organization kind of went to the picking factory and thought we needed to supervise those. So this year we kind of got smart, and since we had a very qualified member of the club already there, probably had more expertise than the rest of us put together. We asked him if he would be in charge of taking care of making those souvenirs, and at the same time he would be in charge of making the whimsies and everything else. So the whimsies are a result of Frank's ideas and doing, and Frank was not able to be with us this evening. Even though he's retired, he said he had to be, his president was required at the factory to come Monday morning, and he didn't want to make that long 850-mile drive in one day tomorrow, so he did leave today. But we do appreciate Mr. Fenton coming to these events, whether it's here or any place. He's always very much an asset to our organization, Carnival, and to the glass collector in general. And we do thank him for being here. But the whimsies are here. We'd like for you to take a look at them in the program that you have received when you came in with a listing of all the whimsies, except the painted plate. So take a little short break, look at the whimsies over, and then we're going to ask John Woody if he would perform his expert service and auction these off for us. So pick out which one you want and get your price up there and we'll auction these shortly.